So I was supposed to do this video last night after the game, after I dropped my son off, but I'm tired, man. I ain't feel like doing shit. Y'all ever have those moments where you just like you got plans to do shit, and you got all the energy, and then when it come time to do it, it's just like all that shit go out the door. It's like, man, fuck all that. That's what I had yesterday. I had a case of the fuckets. You know, case of the fuckets is something. That's my statement for like. It's just like fuck it. I just had a case of the fuckets. It was like fuck it. I'll wait. But anywho, so I want to discuss a little bit of the Clippers versus Mavs game because what that does is that solidify. My first round record is 7-8. Well, yeah, 7 of 8. I got 7 of the picks correct, and the only one I didn't get right was the New York Knicks. So I want to talk a little bit about that and some other stuff. So my Mavs lost, and I'm not too surprised because, like I said, I had the Clippers winning anyway. Um, the thing that a lot of people are going to talk about is a secondary ball handler for Luka. Let's be honest, that's not the issue because you got secondary ball handlers on the team already. The problem is Luka is a poor off-ball player. He don't do shit off the ball, and there have been channels on YouTube who have way more basketball knowledge and insight than me, and they state that the best players in NBA history, we're talking about superstar level players, have the ability to play off the ball next to other star level players or superstar level players. So people are saying they need to go get Bradley Beal, or they need to go get some other guy with handles that can play make and all this other shit. And my question is, what's the point if Luka needs to have the fucking ball the entire time to do anything in a fucking game? He dominates the ball 38, 37, 39% usage rate. That's unworldly, and quite frankly, that's not for good basketball. Others could get similar to same impact with less minutes. Now, Luka gonna go out there and put up 39, 14, and 7, and people gonna be like, he put up numbers, But the nigga can't win a series like that. The Mavs had no legs in the fourth. They got worn down. And that's what happens when you're able to share the ball effectively and not put all the onus on you and get everybody involved. See, you got people who think point guarding, it's like point guards are two ways. It's like point guards like Russell Westbrook and point guards like CP3. I don't like the Russ standard of point guarding. I'm sorry. It's never going to be that thing for me. And quite frankly, yeah, it's terrible basketball to watch in my eyes. That's kind of what Luka is. But Luka can do the things that he does pretty well. Okay? He can knock down his shots, especially inside the paint. He can run your offense. He can get rebounds. He's an all-purpose offensive utility weapon of the highest caliber. There may never be a player like him in history. Truthfully, he reminds me of a mix of like Bird and James Harden and LeBron. You know, but let me just put that to the side because he's the player for my team. I don't want to shit on him too much, but the guy got to learn to play off the ball, right? What's the point of having another star player if they're not going to touch the damn ball? What's the point in having another star player? Like, if you're going to do that, then the kind of star player you need is Klay Thompson. But there's only one Klay Thompson. You can't get a ton of Klay Thompsons. They just don't exist. A guy who could just run around, stand up, shoot threes, and knock down most of your threes, and defend and take other guys' guard or wing player out the game. Those guys just don't exist. Alright? They don't. So, what can you do? You got to play off ball. Now let me compare him slightly to Lonzo, and I'm not saying Lonzo is in his tier, because he's clearly not, but think about it from this perspective. Lonzo understood that, okay, I'm going to be playing next to Zion and Brandon Ingram. I got to work on my off-ball games so that I can support those guys and get the most out of them. So he went and worked on that this offseason. What does that do? Project him much higher, make him a much better player, and he's got career highs all over the field. All over the field. Just or court maybe, whatever. I'm used to playing games that we call stuff feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! And shit. Don't judge me. So, not just him, but LeBron can play off of the ball. KD can play off the ball. Steph is basically best when he's off the ball. You know what I'm saying? All these elite guys can play off the ball. AD, the Joker, every one of them. Luka cannot play off the ball. Once he gives up the ball, he's not going to do anything for your team. It is essentially 4v5. And that's why I was saying if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to trap him and get him off the ball and let the others do the work for him because he's not going to do shit. Having said all that, it's not going to matter what teammate you get unless you get Luka to be an off-ball player. You need to get him to do other things on the court that don't require the ball. Luka is an arrogant ass motherfucker. And to be honest, he thinks he's better than most of the basketball players in America, bar a few guys. And you can tell. His arrogance on the court, like if you're not a superstar level player, he don't respect you. He don't. He just like, nah, dog, you shut up. You ain't on my level. And you might be like, okay, that's necessary, or you can be like, that's bad. But what is he gonna do to a guy that ain't on his level? Alienate him? See, let's compare him to Kawhi real quick. Let me tell you what happened with Kawhi. Kawhi played within the system. He didn't try to do too much the first 5 games. When it got time to put pen to paper, he's like, all right, fuck y'all niggas. All right? Like, I'm fucking Kawhi Leonard. Let me go out here and show you motherfuckers. We not finna lose a single fucking game from this point out. All right? I'm tired of this shit. Tyloo, we gonna bring a game plan, but when it comes time to put pen to paper, I'm fucking these niggas up. Kawhi Leonard dropped 45 points in Game 6 to stave off elimination. And at the end of the game, the entire game, first half of the game, he just put the ball in the hole. Second half, he was like, all right, look, I'm putting the ball in the hole and I'm locking this nigga up. And everybody else just kind of went with him. It's just like, well, damn. And Kawhi ate Luka for lunch. Luka couldn't do shit. He just said, no, nigga, no. Fuck you. I'm sick of this shit. We are the Clippers. We're better than this. I am Kawhi motherfucking Leonard. I am a 2-time champion. I am not about to let you bust my ass, and I'm not about to tarnish my legacy fucking with you. Nigga, you will get punished today. He would have put it on his ass. Put it on his motherfucking ass. And in Game 7, he said, Luka, I might not be able to stop you defensively tonight. Not early in the game, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you work for it. You ain't going to have any legs after the third quarter. And sure enough, the Mavs got broke open in that fourth quarter because they ran out. They had nothing left. And Kawhi just said, all I got to do is just play a solid game from that point on. But when it comes time to put the ball in the hole, ain't nobody on y'all team fucking with me. And that's what he showed. He's like, ain't none of y'all fucking with me. Not one of y'all. Y'all ain't on my level. And it's like, I know I got Paul George here and shit. And he can be streaky. No problem. Bro, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. This is my fucking team anyway. I told you to come here to be here with me, nigga. Not the other way around. Hold this shit. Hold this shit while I go carry us into the next round. Oh, by the way, Kawhi Leonard can play off the ball next to Paul George. To my point. To my point. I'm just saying. But that's what it takes. There are levels to this. And Kawhi Leonard just basically said, look, I've told y'all, the gods of the league, The superstars, the true superstars, there's only four: Steph, Kawhi, LeBron, and KD. Them guys will put pen to paper and fucking end you whenever they feel like it. If it come time to do so, they'll do so. Now, LeBron didn't do it this year because he was injured and he lost AD. And quite frankly, they had no hopes of beating anybody else if they had won against Phoenix. They mailed it in. And he get the nurse's injury, lick his wounds, and come back the next year. It was not worth it to keep trying to push it. So that was it. LeBron is out. No problem. But at the end of the day, that's what the God levels, the superstars, the true superstars do. The other guys MVP level. The only difference that separates them is intangibles. That's it, intangibles. And that's what those four guys got, intangibles. But at the end of the day, Luka ain't ready for them. And we could talk about his team and how, oh, Kristaps Porzingis played bad. Kristaps wasn't even healthy this series. Let's just be honest. Because last year, what did he do? Kristaps was wearing their ass out. When Kristaps came back, they all got into the bubble. He was 100% healthy in the beginning. What happened? He was putting it on their ass. They had nothing for him. And so he had his running mate. Kristaps was not healthy. Okay? Go lick the wounds this offseason. Come back, try to be strong. All right, cool. And that contract is not a beauty. Because that motherfucker is healthy. They paying like $33, $35 million within the next 2 years per year. It's like 31, 33, 35 or something like that. That motherfucker is ludicrous. Especially for him to go out there and put up the numbers he put while he was hurt. I get it, but still. So, again, to the initial point, because I know I kind of went sideways here, but what can Luka afford to do, or what's the point of bringing in a star? Why would a star want to play with him if he's just going to dominate the ball and he's not going to let the other guy do their thing? You might as well just keep him with shooters that can do, can shoot. I mean, that's what LeBron teams for the most part have always done. They've just had guys who do one thing: shoot, like Kyle Korver. Maybe they play defense a little bit like J.R. Smith, but all they do is shoot. They don't really have any other requisite skills. He don't play with guys like, and I'm going to use these two, Josh Hart and Najee Marshall, who have other skill sets. Like, Josh Hart is a great rebounder, despite, the shooting threes and playing defense in most positions. Najee Marshall can play make. So you give him guys like that, and he'll have a much better team to work with, despite the 3-point woes. But Luka's team, and he's got some teammates: Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson, Maxi Kleber, Tim Hardaway Jr., who was basically the other guy, and I don't feel like they used him that much. Tim Hardaway should have been a guy that averaged like 27 this series. Truthfully, if they had actually got the most out of him. But I'm not going to judge Rick Carlisle. I'm not going to dig into Rick Carlisle for this series. Credits to Ty Lue. I thought Ty Lue was carried by LeBron, but it looks like he's going to be carried by LeBron and Kawhi. Nah, but Ty Lue can coach his ass off. He can make the necessary adjustments and shit. I got to give him credit. As far as knowing the game of basketball. And I got to say something. Those point guards, those ex-point guards seem to have a pretty good knowledge of the game. Like him, Rondo, and I'll even give you another one who's not really a point guard, but his role as point guard-ish is Draymond. Draymond's going to make an excellent analyst or coach no matter where he goes. He's going to get one of those jobs. And rightfully so. The guy knows his fucking shit. The guy knows his fucking shit. It's unquestioned at this point. But that's all I got for that. So, what have we learned about the playoffs so far? I'm just going to list a couple teams here. In the second round, we have Utah Jazz, Clippers, Denver Nuggets, and Phoenix, right? A three-way scorer is necessary on just about every team in the playoffs. And I mean all three. You need a guy who can attack the basket, shoot threes, and knock down mid ranges. And I've been clamoring about mid ranges for the longest on this channel because I'm a staunch supporter of Lonzo Ball. And I think he should be going to that. That should be one of his go to things. Learning how to get there. So I think he needs to spend some time with a DeMar DeRozan. And God rest his soul, Kobe's not here. But if Kobe had been here, I wish he could have got a hold of Lonzo in the offseason and worked with him on mid range. Because I'm telling you guys, mid range wins championships. And people like to talk about it's a bad shot. The mid range is not a bad shot. But let me talk about something in particular. I'm going to get back to the 3-point or the 3-level score here in a minute. The ability to break. What I mean by breaking or the ability to break is the ability to stop your momentum. Guys who have that ability to stop, go on a dime are phenomenal scorers because they get to control and displace the movement of the defense. If I know that I can burst on you, get past you, and get to the basket, I'm winning. But if I know I can burst on you and you're gonna have to go and like full sprint to me and then I stop on a break, step back, I just created a mountain of space to get an open jump shot. Guys like that who can stop on a dime are phenomenal scorers. And if I was Lonzo, one of the things I would be trying to add is my ability to stop go. I would be trying to enhance that athletic skill of mine. Because if you can do that, if you got the speed to get past guys and you can stop on a dime and rise up and shoot, you are going to get so many mismatches and so many made baskets because of your ability to kill your defender one-on-one. Now, back to this three-way score thing. And I could even go to the freaking East to start talking about guys on the East, but let me just stick with the West real quick because I'm a fan of the West, not so much the East. Guys who can score on all three levels are necessary because they force guys to have to defend them no matter where they are on the court. If one of your star level players is like that, you're great. But Brooklyn, and I know I'm not going to talk about these, but Brooklyn is an exception. Brooklyn got three guys like that: Kyrie, James Harden, and KD. Even though James Harden is out with a hamstring injury, but whatever. A guy that can hit you on all three levels, right? Now, Pelicans got a guy in Brandon Ingram. Please disregard my previous video that I put out before this one. Temporarily. B.I. on the Pelicans can score at all three levels. He's going to be essential in any playoff series on a team that he's on because of that. Being able to shoot threes, being able to score in the mid-range, being able to attack the basket. Guys like that you need on your team. Clippers got two guys like that. Paul George and Kawhi. They kind of had Lou Williams before they traded him to Atlanta, but whoa, whoop-de-doo. Atlanta's in the second round. I wonder why. Guys that can shoot and score the ball at all three levels will always break games open. And more importantly, late game, you need those guys to go to because they put so much pressure on opposing defenses and defenders. If you got to sit there, stop your guy at all three levels, you can't relax on defense. And that means your teammates can't relax because they got to be wary about, okay, if you get beat, somebody got to step up to take the guy, one-on-one. That's why there should be a premium on guys like Brandon Ingram. And to that point, it's why Lonzo will never be as good as he can be because he can't do what Brandon Ingram can do on offense. Yes, he can pass the ball and stuff, but in the playoffs, you got to be able to finish at the rim, finish through contact, finish when you got a bad shot, finish at all three levels the same way, and you got to be able to do it when it counts. Lonzo has not shown the ability to do all of those consistently. One of his shortcomings as a player. And I'll be honest, not every guy's going to be able to do this, and that's fine. But for people that want him or have these expectations of him to go to this next level, he's got a lot to work on. That's why I'm not looking at him as like an all-star level threat yet. because he has too much shit to work on. And not we all, because some people do, some people don't. The majority of the people that follow Lonzo have these notions and thoughts about him as a player. It is not realistic. The guy has so much shit to work on to get to that point. I don't think people understand the difference between a really good player and an all-star level player. All-stars and good players are not the same thing by any means. In general, yes, you may be close to being an all-star, but in actual technique, execution, and the shit you got to do, you are far off. Drew Holiday is one of those all-star level players, but he never gets selected at all-star. There's a reason for that. But anyway, back to the point here. You need guys on your team that can go get a bucket at any given moment, right? Utah got Donovan Mitchell and to some degree Jordan Clarkson. So they could go put them two on the court and it's like, all right, either one of them could go knock down a shot somewhere and go get a shot. Clippers got two of those guys. When Denver is healthy, they got Michael Porter Jr. and they got Jamal Murray. But if you want to take a look at their bench, they also got Bo, but they don't play him. Phoenix got CP3 and Devin Booker. And I already mentioned Brooklyn. All three levels. All three levels. That matters. When you're building a team and you're in the playoffs, rebounding matters, defense matters, scores matter. Let me turn this shit off. I don't want any more interruptions. That shit matters, man. And I want people, for my Pelicans fans, because I'm not a Pelicans fan, even though I'm born in the state of Louisiana. I should be a Pelicans fan. I'm a Mavs fan. But what you guys should be doing is looking at these teams and being honest with yourself. Do the Pelicans look like they should be out there with any of these teams in the playoffs, even the ones that lost? The answer is no. And that's the difference between playoffs versus anything else. That's number one. But look at this from this perspective. Look at what it took to get from round one to round two. There's a tier between the rounds if you pay attention. Now, you could argue in the case of the Clippers and the Mavs are one of those teams that should have been in the second round too. And they are. But think about this. That series had to go 7 games. And it took every fucking thing just to differentiate the winner. And it was made clear that the Clippers are the better team. Do the Pelicans have that? Hell no. Their roster is nowhere near that. They got, first of all, benches matter. Poor benches get you beat in the playoffs. You got a poor bench, you can hang it up. What do the Pelicans have? A poor bench. Number one. That's one reason why they wouldn't make the playoffs. Number two, your starting lineup has to be one of the best in the league. It has to be able to do any and everything at all times. Can the Pelicans do that? No. They got a couple guys here and there. And they got other guys who are detrimental to the team or to the functionality of the team. They do not work well. The starting lineup last year for the Pelicans was much better, and they had the highest net rating with Zion. Okay? So you could argue that is a team that could have been in the playoffs last year. Their bench wasn't that good last year, but it was better than it is this year. I would have took their bench last year versus the one from this year. How are the Pelicans supposed to be a playoff team? I don't get it. They're not. They're missing too much. They're missing too much. And with all this internal conflict, it's no wonder they're not going to play hard out there because they don't give a fuck. And I made a video about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. I said, where is your pride? Well, we've gotten the answer since May. They don't like Stan. They don't like the front office. They don't like this team. They don't have a pride. There's not a pride to have if you don't like where you're at. They want better. And they're not getting better. if we're going to talk about the guards on the ball, Donovan Mitchell, CP3, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, if you want to consider him that. I consider him a small forward, but I guess he's like a 2-3, depending on how you play him. Paul George is like a 2-3-4, depending on how you play him. Whatever. Guards on the ball. I want you guys to look at what the guards on the ball are being tasked to do, and I want you to look at Lonzo, and I want you to be honest about Lonzo Ball. Even the guards that don't have superstar level ability, go look at those guards too and look at what they're having to do. Some of them may not be very good out there, but you're going to have to differentiate what makes a good point guard in the playoffs. And you're going to have to ask yourself, is Lonzo ready for that? Or is he at that level? Because there's obviously the elites, the superstar level, players or MVP level players. There's superstar level players too, like a Dame. But Dame don't have that it factor. So you got to go to... Really, there's nobody in the playoffs on that level anymore. I mean, you could argue James Harden at that position, but James Harden ain't led a team there. So really, you're just looking at like a bunch of MVP level candidates, which is fine. And then you got like all-star level, and then like good and like descending down toward like that. But you got to look at the guys who have that potential and compare Lonzo and be honest with yourself. Can he do the things that these guys are asked to do on some level? And that will tell you where he's at. Brandon Ingram, I kind of already talked about him, so you don't really have to think about it, but you got to look and see, like, okay, because he got some deficiencies, too, he's got to work on. But look at Michael Porter Jr., KD, Kawhi, PG. Look at what they're doing and having to do on the team and ask yourself, does he have it? And then go look at Zion. Zion is supposed to be the number one option on these teams. Go look at the number one options and ask yourself, is Zion capable of replicating some of these performances of a Luka Doncic, a Kawhi Leonard, a KD, a Giannis Antetokounmpo, a Jokic? Even some of the guys that lost, like a Russell Westbrook or a Bradley Beal. You guys got to go look at these guys. First option, Devin Booker. You got to look at these guys. And I know Zion is one of one. But what it is you have to look and say, okay, when it comes time to put the ball in the hole and bring this game home, or even get your game to the end, sometimes it's not always about finishing the game, but sometimes you need to be dragged to that point. Kawhi in Game 6 against Dallas did just that. He said, I am motherfucking Kawhi Leonard, and we will not lose. And Kawhi Leonard went out there from the point of the game to the end of the game, and he carried and said, we will not lose this game. Look at what he did the entire game and ask yourself, is Zion one of those guys yet? And you have to frame this shit perfectly. Now, I know it's not fair because a lot of these guys have unfair experiences. They've been in the league longer. They've had more opportunities. I get that. But you have to understand, this is the level you have to get to in the playoffs. This is we want to talk about roles. Here's the thing that y'all don't understand about roles. Just because you have a role don't mean you meant to be in that role. Julius Randle is the number one option on the Knicks. Did he play like a number one option? Absolutely not. And I believe this was his first postseason. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I think this was his first postseason. So at 26, he was basically getting his cherry popped in his prime. So he's going to have to go and work on some things. We'll see what he do the next year. Maybe he'll ascend and do better. But this is why I've been so critical about, look, we cannot have Lonzo be out and Zion out of these playoffs too long. They got to get in there and get this experience. Otherwise, they could get they ass bust like Julius Randle when it is time to play. These guys need to be in the playoffs. We talk about guys like Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine would be excellent in the playoffs, but the nigga got to get there. And if you can't do some of this stuff in the regular season when it matters, you're not going to do it in the playoffs. So again, when we talk about roles, we got to be honest about who the fuck we got on these teams and what they should be doing. If we're going to talk about roles, we're going to have a serious conversation and talk about some uncomfortable things with the players as far as the comfortable things is concerned. Some of these guys are not what you think they are right now. That don't mean that they won't be. And some of these guys will never be what you think they are. But you have to look at what's required in the postseason. Go look at the Lakers. And I've told you guys one of my philosophies of team building, I need a team that can win without the star players too. When the star players for the Lakers went out, what did they have? Nothing. LeBron couldn't carry. He's too old. And he's hurt. It is what it is. But the core of Pelicans, can they do the same stuff that you see that these other teams are doing? I'm not going to answer that question for you guys. I want you guys to be honest about that and assess them for yourselves, and then you come to your own conclusion. I have my case and my viewpoint on it. But anyway, that's all I got. Y'all have a good one. Peace.